Hello everybody and welcome along once again to another edition of the Rebel White Ball. As has been the case for the past couple of weeks, we've been talking a lot about the various county championships here in Cork, particularly with the playing of county finals. And my God, I keep saying what an incredible championship we've been treated to. Last weekend, I think there was something like 8 county championship matches, and in 6 of them, excluding the 2 Rugby hurling semi-finals, they were rather one-sided, but in 6 of them there was only one single score separating the teams, and in 4 of those we're talking about county finals. And honestly, for those of us who graze in these kind of pastures, I don't think there was any greater entertainment provided anywhere in the country last weekend that was provided here in Cork. So basically there are now 13 of the 16, I think, county championships, 11 of the 16 county championships completed, and this weekend there are 3 more down for decision. Yesterday, the sad news broke of the passing of Seanie O Leary. Some of you from the more mature end of things will remember this incredible gentleman. It's from Youghal. He was a member of the, and I suppose, look, it's kind of hard for people around today to understand the significance of that Cork hurling team, in the 70s and 80s. It was hugely successful, and Seanie won 4 senior All-Ireland medals. He won 8 in all between minor and under 21, and 3 of those were won in the 3 in a row. Was it 76 to 78, and then the centenary finalist was known against Offaly in 1984. And because there was such crowds following them, and because Cork was so successful, Seanie was one of these people that grabbed the attention of the supporters because he was a forward, he was a goal-scoring forward, and he was always known as an incredible gentleman. And I would imagine, had he been around today, he'd probably have millions of followers on various social media outlets because of his popularity and his goal-scoring prowess. As well as winning the 4 senior All-Irelands and then the other 4 at minor and under 21 level, he won 9 Munster championships and 4 league titles. And his son, as some of you will know, Seanie O Leary, he captained the last Cork minor team prior to the one recently to win an All-Ireland minor in 2001, and he subsequently went on then and because I think he was going to school in Christians, he went down the road of rugby and winning a Grand Slam and had a very successful career. So, obviously to Seanie's family, to the members of his beloved Youghal club, we extend our sympathies. And I know there was a massive outpouring of, I suppose, sadness when it was announced that he passed away last night, because he had that kind of connection with a whole host of a Cork generation that grew up in, I suppose, more successful hurling times. And by the way, I probably should have mentioned that he continued to give to the game after he was selected with Cork teams. I think he was selected in the team that won the All-Ireland in 1999 and followed on then in 2004. So may his gentle soul rest in peace. Moving on then, we have I suppose the first county final we're going to talk about and mention is the Premier Intermediate Football Championship, the Premier Intermediate final between Kanturk and Newmarket. My God, does it get any better up there in Cork now, in North Cork, Duhallow, which is, I dare not say the home of hurling, the home of football, because hurling is played there again. And first of all, to this Kanturk team, they are the Lochmore Castleiney of Cork in terms of the dual mandate, and they had an incredible weekly victory there a couple of weeks ago against Father O'Neill's in the Seanie O hurling, which means they're going to be playing the top grade of hurling. They play football, they have great footballers, but they struggle at times in football matches, like in the semi-final of this competition. They were out the gap against Ahada, and Kyle Holland and Cian Kernan, 2 subs, got 2 points to them to get them over the line. Last year, you may remember, they lost the corresponding final to Knocknagree. And so from a football point of view, I think they have probably yet to realise the potential they have. When you consider the players that are in their midst, you have the McLaughlins, of course, those 2 great warriors. Then you have, between the Walsh's brothers, their Jeromes, and Toms, and there's two there as well, Aidan being one of them. They bring a huge amount to it, and then of course you fellas like Larkin, O'Neill and several more as well. So they play that game on Sunday at 3 o'clock against Newmarket. Now, to some people maybe Newmarket would be the surprise packages in the county final, but this team could always be described as maybe the total being greater than the sum of the parts. They wouldn't have massively well-known players, and in their semi-final against Kilnamartyr, I think they got over the line by a goal, 2-7 to 1-7. But they have players that have served that club incredibly well. They did win this championship back 10 years ago, but as I say, they won't have the same. I could walk into all sorts of trouble here. Maybe quality players, but guys like Mikey Brown, Paddy Allen, TJ Brosnan, what a servant he's been, Michael Cotran, who's been around the place, hangs around midfield, then Ryan O'Keefe, Kevin O'Sullivan and Conor O'Keefe. So, on the face of it, I probably should be saying that, Kentuck should win this. But when you take some of and their football victories have been, as I said, rather close. So it'll be entertaining, and what an incredible day for them and for Newmarket and for that part of the Duhallow division to be in Croke Park, but it's probably better in Páirc Uí Chaoimh Sunday. The curtain raiser to that game, and this is another fairy tale in terms of one team in particular. Well, I suppose any team that gets to a county final. If we were asked to preview this game this time last year, between Ivlera and Mitchelstown, you'd be finding it hard to make a case for these Howdy boys of Mid-Cork. But what an incredible time they've had since they won the county championship. They beat Boherbue. We'll be talking about Boherbue in a minute. Their day came as well. It's amazing, isn't it? When they were beaten on the 7th day, they beat Boherbue in the county final the 7th of August, 3-11 to 1-6. That was the day that Chris Jones got 3 goals and 8 points. What an incredible scoring feat. Since then, they moved up into the intermediate A grade. The first match against the Bears, 18 points to 12. Mill Street, 23 points, I think, to 113. The last game in the group conceded 118 to 1-8. So they're absolutely hammering teams since they went up to this. Then in the quarter final, Glanmore, 5-11 to 12 points. And what shocked me altogether was the semi-final against Ahabulloch. Now, I don't know whether the wheels had to come off the Ahabulloch wagon at that stage, or whether they were taken off by Ivlera. Probably remains to be seen. They won that one 3-14 to 1-5. They are this team was for those who mightn't be totally familiar, they were fighting, trying to get out of Mid-Cork for years. Well, for a number of years. And you know what? Maybe sometimes they thought it wouldn't happen. And here they are now. One victory away from going up to Premier Intermediate football. It would be just simply a fairy tale beyond belief. Joe Creedon is a well-established goalkeeper. They've littered with good players. You've Finbar Sweeney, Seanie O Leary, and then you have the 2 Jones brothers. Their team captain always comes in for a couple of scores, Brian Cronin, and of course they have Cathal Vaughan, who has to be managed in terms of injuries. Mitchelstown on their part, God, if I talk about wheels coming off the wagon, they played Rockchapel in the county in this back on the 21st of August. To be fair, they were raging hot favourites to win it. Rockchapel, though, came to town well armed and well prepared and were deserving winners. Mitchelstown, things went wrong for them, and they subsequently then lost to Ahabulloch in the opening round of this year's championship. But in fairness to them, they got their act together and they recorded victories over Glanmire, Kildare, and then Ballydesmond and Kilshannig last week in the semi-final, which was a great win for them. They came from behind in that game to win. I think it was 2-11 to 113. Now, when you're talking about their team, like fellas like Shane Beston, Greg, Carl Sean Walsh, Patrick McGee and Michael Walsh, these guys have been serving them well. But a lot of the talk about Mitchelstown is who's going to be there on the day. Their big man Mark Keane, well, he's gone back. Remember now, these players in Mitchelstown are also involved with Ballygiblin, who won the Junior Hurling Championship incredible victory a couple of weeks ago for them. Cathal O'Mahony, not alone is he an outstanding player from Mitchelstown, this guy is one person, one player that hopefully will be part of a successful Cork setup. Cork get a handy old draw in the Munster Championship against Kerry. That'll sort a lot of coughing. But anyway, Cathal O'Mahony had to go off the last day. Whether he's going to play now or not, I'm not too sure. Then they've Colin English, you know, this guy that played with Tipperary. I don't know whether he's still out injured or not. Like, he'd bring an awful lot to them. Darragh Flynn, the hurler, he could be around the place. So I'm not too sure who Mitchelstown will have on Sunday, but if Cathal O'Mahony is there, it's a big boost to them. It's going to be, I keep saying it, and it should be always said, county finals are great occasions for the two teams that get there. I know it is disappointing when you lose one, but when you think of what, and we can see this year, teams that have lost county finals, you know, a short few weeks ago, that, you know, the 220s that were playing in this year, look where a lot of them came back. Boherby came back, Mallow came back and won a county final. So there's plenty of evidence that losing county final doesn't damage you forever. For Rahina though, not Rahina, my apologies, they're a great crowd too. For Leary, it could be a case of the sweet lady. They have a sweet lady, like, will deliver the sweetest sweets of all time if they win this one. I think it's going to be an incredible match, and I don't know who's going to win it. I'm probably, there's part of me saying that, look Mitchelstown, if they had those players right. But the carry on of Leary, the positive carry on of them, I'll tell you, people have, you know, they've stood up and taken notice of them, and it would be an incredible victory for them. We've the Junior C football final between Lismore and Araklin. Lismore are up there in North Cork. Actually, they're outside Kanturk. There might be one or two Kanturkians that would have originated in Lismore even. But anyway, this is the Junior C football final. Araklin, they're bordering three counties, Tipperary. They're up there, kind of that north east of the county, Waterford and Cork. They're based in Cork, and they're the favourites of this in my book because they won the Junior B hurling championship. Like Lismore have been in one county final back Junior B hurling, I think in 2004 they lost that, whereas Araklin won the 2020 Junior B hurling championship, beating Fremont, and they beat Fremont again in the football semi-final this week. So that game, which goes on Saturday at 5 o'clock in Park Arena, I'm thinking that this will be another victory for Araklin, which is, you know, a really big boost for the club, you know, to win a football after winning this is Junior C football, and we know that after winning the Junior B hurling to win the Junior C football. Then we have one other game, and that is in the Junior B football divisional. This is an interesting match now. It's on a brilliant Saturday at 3 o'clock between Douglas's third team, these are Eddie's boys, versus Randall Oak, who've already won the County Junior B Football Championship, the one that's open just to Junior B clubs only. So that's going to be, as I said, an interesting match in Brinny. You probably fancy maybe Randall Oak to get over that one and meet Dripsy in the final. Now, over the next few weeks, we're going to be talking about the Munster Club Championship, because obviously there are 3 in each code: senior, intermediate and junior, and obviously Cork teams are in there. The first one out to bat are Boherby, and what a win for them last weekend. These guys, the last thing they wanted ever in their history was to win the Duhala Junior Football Championship 6 times in a row. Some people would say, my God, this is a marvellous crowd, but winning your divisional championship 6 times in a row means that you've lost county 5 times in a row, 5 times in the county championship. So maybe a badge of honour, or a badge of, I don't know what you call it. But anyway, Boherby's day came. They beat Ballinasig in a great junior final last Saturday by a single goal in the end. Dennis McCarthy, I think, getting something like 1 goal and 5 points. Alan O'Connor 1-2, and of course Jerry O'Connor, you know, he's their injured player, but well known, getting the penalty. And for Adrian Murphy, the team captain, what a special day for him. You know, forever and a day He'll be the guy that captained the first Bohorby team to win the Junior Championship. So the travel to Ennis, this is going to be new for the Bohorby people up the road to Cusick Park. I'm not saying they haven't been there before, for 1 o'clock against the Hardy Crow from North Clare, Ballyvaughan. No, I'm not going to make predictions because travelling to, I've seen enough of Clare football. I know enough about the passion of it that they have for it, particularly in the western and the northwestern part of the county. But for any club that gets an opportunity to, it's bonus territory. And except in the senior championship where you're playing the top teams from each county, the junior and intermediate depends on the grading within each county, like the Cork Junior Football Champions, right? If they did get over this and they get to play the Kerry Junior Football Champions, like, I should have it made out, but in terms of grading, the Kerry team would be higher up the ranking, and yeah, that's for another day. Ladies football, and last weekend I tell you was a reminder of how you can't take things for granted. Yes, Ince Rovers did win the Senior B against Cummer Rangers, and next weekend we'll play, I think it's Rathmore. But 2 Cork teams, Valley Rovers, were beaten by a very good team from Monaghan in Limerick. There's talk that this team could go on and win a championship. We'll wait. The finals are on next week. And Castlehaven were surprisingly beaten as well by Mullinahone from Tipperary. The one match that's on this weekend is the Senior A football semi-final in Mourneabbey on Sunday. That's at 1 o'clock, and it's the local team versus Ballymacarbery from Waterford. No, this Ballymacarbery outfit, 40 times they have won in a row. They have won the Waterford Championship. 40. No, I still think that Mourneabbey, like, they're an incredibly talented team, and most of them are still there. Some, albeit with a little bit of mileage on the clock, to use that dreaded phrase. But and if they get over that, then they'll be playing at Harlow in the finals next weekend. Moving on to the world of soccer, first of all, well done to the ladies team. Now, remember last week we were talking about them, expected them to get over Slovakia. They didn't, and a disappointing draw, it must be said. But then on Tuesday night had a massive win over Georgia, 11-0. Now, I know that in ladies soccer that, I think the international game is still coming to terms with, like, England beat some crowd 20-0. But anyway, for Ireland, it means like that, after their win over Finland earlier, they're still in line for that second spot in the World Cup qualifiers. And, like, they finished their year, I think, in a high end, did a huge amount for lady sports, big crowd at the Viva Stadium, and, like that, there was in television, the audience was up around 300,000, which they were very, very happy with. So, well done, and that's the way it should be, of course. Well, the Premier League, usually midweek, they play cup or European competitions, but this week it's Premier League, and after last night's results, Chelsea beating Watford 2-1, Man City instilling a 2-1 defeat against Steven Gerrard's Aston Villa, and Liverpool winning the Merseyside derby 4-1. Actually, and if what that means is that there's it's now officially a 3-horse race between those three. For Everton fans, and there's got the year started very well for them with Rafael Benitez. He came in as their manager, but in the last 8 matches, out of a possible 24 points, they've only picked up 2, and he could be looking at the front door now. Speaking of front doors and back doors, tonight there are 2 good matches on again. At 7:30, you have Spurs playing Brentford. Oh my God, last week we were talking to, the Omicron variant, it's affecting some of the Irish guys go for these soccer matches all the time. And they're over there last night, and they're over there tonight, and they must now get these PCRs or supervised antigen tests before they come back. A nice earner somewhere. This costs you about £50, is it 35 sterling or something? Yeah? But anyway, United play tonight against Arsenal, and remember Arsenal now, who've been going really well until they get a right trimming, and against Liverpool. Michael Carrick is still in charge because Ralph Ragnick, the new guy in town, he's still looking around for a bit of a work permit before he gets in to do the job. So yeah, United fans will be, since Carrick took over, they've had 2 draws. in the European and last week against Chelsea. My God, I think this time last week we were talking about Munster Rugby's two upcoming matches in South Africa and how belly up everything have gone there and that. Um, that's where we became, I suppose, aware of the variant first of all. And, you know, the Munster team, they've had, is it six PCR rounds of, 6 rounds of PCR testing in 5 days. And it means now there's 10 of them still of the touring party, or 14 of them still in South Africa. Like, which obviously, you know, like that is stressful for them and for their families. You know, some of these are young players, and I'd imagine for their parents and people back home, this can't be an easy time. And yet 34 of them came back yesterday, and their matches are gone in that. But the next big game they're playing is Saturday week on the 12th, when they travel to Coventry to play the Wasps. Now, there's no give here. If they have to give a walkover, it's 28-0 down, it goes on as a defeat. No, they have players, and I think eventually they will have enough. No, you just can't turn up in rugby and say, I have 20 players here ready, we're fine. You must have, like, you're okay for backs. Most backs can play anywhere in rugby, but in the forwards, like the front row is a very specialist position, so you have to have a certain number of them, and rightly so, and second row forwards as well. I think eventually they will, but I don't know, whatever it is about that competition, it has been kind of dogged from the start, if you like. And are they trying to take in too much, you know, having South African teams, Scottish, English, Italian. Anyway, the main thing is that the people involved with this virus, and believe me, you don't anybody tell you that Connie COVID is a welcome visitor. He's far from it. So the best wishes go to everybody. Their health is obviously the most important part. Well, that's about it. We were told that yesterday was the first day of the meteorological winter, and it had that little bit of a winter feel, so there must be a bit to go on this season. So once again, thanks for your kind attention, and until the next time, take care.